In this week's video, I get to show you how to build a basic top with a shelf for an electric standing desk. This one specifically is working with the Huanuo frame, so we're going to build that first, and then I'm going to show you how to build a top and successfully attach it to your frame. This is the Huanuo standing desk. Now, I did build this top for it, but the electric base underneath is so smooth. I can't wait to show you. I'm going to show you a little quick installation and then show you what the desk looks like now that it's built and set up. We are going to assemble the Huanuo electric standing desk frame. I'm so excited. I've got all the pieces laid out, and the instruction manual is really self-explanatory for building. It tells you everything that should come with it. The desktop obviously not included, so we're going to build that, and then let's get going. Setup for this desk really didn't take much time at all. It's really simple to follow the instructions. Now, building the top, it just depends on what type of wood you're using. I used hardwood. It was old barn wood that I had. It was about 3/4 of an inch thick, and it worked perfectly with the screws that you had to screw in the frame to. After building a very simple top using just my Kreg Jig and assembling it together, at this point you would typically screw in the frame to the top, but we needed to get it upstairs around a corner, and so we just mounted it, and then I drew almost like an outline around the frame so that I knew exactly where it needed to go, made sure it was centered, and assembled the frame completely without attaching it to the top. But before we move on, let's get back to how we built the top. So let's go over to my dad's wood workshop where I have all my woodworking tools. This is what the boards looked like when they were stored over there. We got them for free, which was a huge blessing, but you can use anything to build this. So you can use 2x6s, you can use 2x4s. It's gonna be the same principle of how to screw them together, but first we need to cut them to size. So this desk needs to be 64 inches by 31.5. Whatever wood you're using, you want to lay them down in the shape that they're going to be in and then start measuring. I go down with a long measuring stick and my tape measure just to make sure, and I mark with a pencil where I need to cut this. It helps to use a straight edge of the ruler to draw a line all the way down so that you can make sure that you're staying on the entire length of the board. One of the tools that I really need to upgrade is this table saw. This table saw was given to me by a neighbor, and I swear it's about 200 years old. I have to use a clamp just to hold the bar straight, and it continues popping the breaker when it's going through harder wood like this barn wood. Because these were too wide for my miter saw, which I don't have one that comes down and then moves forward, which I also need to put that on my wish list. I had to put these through the table saw, so I made sure to wear protection. My hand is very far away. I know I can use a push stick, but my hand was super far. Once I got all the boards ripped down to size, I used the miter saw to do the rest of the smaller cuts. The shelf on the top that my neighbor wanted was going to be 9 inches deep and 58 inches wide. It needed to come up just slightly to hold his monitors about 3.75 inches above. So I'm just going to cut some little side planks for this. Again, this is like your super basic design. I'm not using any fancy tools for this other than the miter saw and a very old table saw. My dad taught me that I always measure twice and cut once so that I get the measurement exactly right. But that does not mean I haven't messed up a measurement or two. Once I got the shelf cut to what I needed it, I used this smaller piece of wood to cut the parts that are going to raise it up, that are just going to be really basic side pieces. Now, once pieces of wood like this get smaller and smaller when you're cutting them, it's really wise to use a push stick to hold that piece of wood down so that your fingers aren't anywhere near the blade. Once I finished cutting all the pieces, I laid them out so that I could see exactly what it was going to look like. Alright, so I got the boards back to my workshop. Now, these boards are really, really thin. So I pulled out the 1-inch Kreg screws, and I like these because they're not going to go through very far. I set my Kreg down to 1/2 inch. I'm going to show you guys. I set it right here to 1/2 inch. So you unscrew this and you put it down, and this one actually has the markers where you screw it down. And I used this tool over here to adjust it. And then I backed this thing down to 1/2 inch as well. And so it's gonna make sure that when this screw goes down, so it's gonna go about right here and further down, it's gonna go that much into the next piece of wood so it's not gonna poke through. I ended up switching over to the 1 1/4 screws because they didn't go through the wood and poke through the front at all, and it was gonna give it a little bit more length to make sure that it's really sturdy. Now, you're gonna hear a lot of basketball in this background of the video, but this is because I have multiple kids over at my front right now, and I love working out there when they're playing, and so if you don't mind the background noise, this is what it is to be a mom and also work while I'm keeping an eye on my kids. I'm not using an exact measurement for where I'm putting these. I just know that I'm putting them about 12 to 18 inches because on the other board, I'm gonna put them right in the middle of that. If it helps you, you can make pencil marks with that arrow pointing towards exactly where you're putting them so that you don't lose track. Obviously, on the boards that are on the edges, only one side needs to have those Kreg screws. On the ones in the middle, they're going to alternate with the boards that are being screwed into them, and so you need to put the Kreg holes on both sides. Once all the holes are screwed, you can switch out the drill bit to be the one that screws in the screw to these Kreg. Alright, so now that we have them all drilled, see how one's going in this way and one's going in this way. One's going this way, one's going that way. So that's how they're going to be able to join together. Probably overkill, but I think it'll be perfect. Let's screw it together. Moment of truth. Whew, stick together. Is everything poking through? Alright, notice that this one was up higher than this, so I'm going to stand on it. I had backed up these four and I'm going to stand close to it. Make sure. Easy peasy. All right, next is these shelves. So he wants it 3 3/4 tall, just about there. So we're gonna Kreg jig this in. I just have to measure and make sure that we Kreg jig them evenly. We're gonna measure 2 and 2. So we've got these foam pads. You can find these in the description below. They are awesome. They're called Polywell and they are on Amazon. That's not lining up. Oh, these are okay. This is Surf Prep. This is like your regular Amazon. So that is why we're not lining up. But I really don't care because I just need it to. Okay, that's fine. I just needed to give this a buff sand. This is gonna go on here. One of the best ways to sand is with steel wool, so I'm using a 0 steel wool over the surface after I sanded it to make sure that nothing is catching on any splinters that are raised up, and it will show me by snagging some of the steel wool. This also gives it just a nice little buff sand before we do the waxing. I have got Johnson's. Stuff has been around for forever. Paste wax. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to put it on my car waxer. All right, yesterday I stabbed myself with the drill and it hurts to bend my legs and kneel down. Oh my gosh. Be so careful when you're drilling in Kreg stuff as to where the drill is facing and what it can slip onto, because had it hit my hand, oh my gosh, it would have gone right through it. All right, I got the buff pad on. This thing is such a beast. I love this so much. It comes with a bunch of different polishers. But anyways, we're gonna wax off now. Let's do this. I let this dry overnight and the desk is now complete, so it's time to install it at my neighbor's house. So once we got it upstairs, then we put it on the top and fit it to the lines and screwed it right in. It was at this point too that I connected all the electric cables that came in the box. Now I didn't even have to look at the instructions for this. You know exactly where they go. So this is the Huanuo standing electric desk. We have installed it all. Now we did get a different cable box than the one it came with, but it does come with this one that you can fold and apply on the back. And then this is the electric panel. And we've got all these cord hiders so we can make sure that nothing is hanging down. So fantastic. The settings are over here, so you can do your seated setting as long as you put it up to the height that you need it for. Then you press and hold these buttons to set it for that height. And if you want to adjust it anymore at all, you can see how smoothly this moves up and down. And all you need to have is a flat surface to screw it into from the bottom. And then you put it all the way back down. It's already set for a setting at 1, so all I have to do is press the button and it goes down to the regular seating height. So highly recommend. It's so smooth and so quiet. Thank you guys so much for joining in for this video. Make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the like button and comment below.